人又夠鐘。
We have a quorum. The time is so. We've also reached the appointed hour. Information paper issued since the last meeting. There are two. The first one, CB 1460, 1415-01. Information paper on the financial position of the Applied Research Fund for the period of 1st of June to 31st of August 2014. The second paper is an information paper on proposed amendments to the schedules to the Patents Ordinance, Registered Designs Ordinance, Trademarks Ordinance, and Layout Design Topography of Integrated Circuits, Designation of Qualifying Countries, Territories, or Areas Regulation. The two papers are technical amendments to the relevant ordinances and regulations so as to update the list of signatories and members of the Paris Convention and also the WTO. The administration will introduce the 4 pieces of subsidiary legislation in the middle of 2014, and these pieces are to be done by negative vetting. The date of the next meeting and discussion items. Well, it will be after the Lunar New Year, the 17th of March at 2:30 p.m. There are 2 items for discussion: progress report on the implementation of the dedicated funds on branding, upgrading, and domestic sales, which is on our list, item 1, list of outstanding items for discussion, item 1, and the second item for discussion is consultation on a new set of copyright tribunal rules, which is number 2 on the list of outstanding items for discussion. Any queries, please? Do the members want to suggest other items? If not, well then, if you can think of some other items, please inform me. All right, let's move on to the third item on the agenda, which is promotion of inward investment. Please invite the officials into the room. Today, attending our meeting are Mr. Philip Yong, Permanent Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Ms. Carol Yuen, Deputy Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mr. Simon Gaupin, Director General of Investment Promotion, and Mr. Francis Ho, Assistant Director General. Welcome to you all. So, Mr. Yong, would you please introduce the paper? Thank you, Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to update members on the work of the Invest Hong Kong in the previous year and also outline its way forward in 2015. The Invest Hong Kong has been working very hard on promoting Hong Kong's business environment and attract overseas investors based in Hong Kong to develop the business. Since 2000, setting up of the Invest Hong Kong, more than 3,400 enterprises or companies have been set up in Hong Kong or have received help to expand their business. And in fact, altogether, they have created more than 35,000 jobs. Last year, the economy of the world faced different challenges, but 355 overseas mainland or Hong Kong firms have been introduced into Hong Kong. This is the highest over the years. That has shown the success of the Invest Hong Kong. It has also shown that Hong Kong has an edge in forming businesses and attracting businesses to come to Hong Kong. This year, the Invest Hong Kong will continue to promote overseas mainland and Taiwan enterprises to come to invest in Hong Kong. They will also step up their publicity in the mainland and also in Asian countries. We will, of course, promote Hong Kong as an international hub for startup business and attract more startup entrepreneurs to come to Hong Kong. This is one of the emphases of the Invest Hong Kong in the recent years. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, if I may invite the Director General, Mr. Galpin, to speak on the details. Yes, Mr. Galpin, please.
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon. If I can highlight some of the results for 2014. Last year, Invest Hong Kong assisted a record number of 355 companies from overseas, mainland and Taiwan, to either set up or expand their business in Hong Kong. These 355 projects led to the creation of over 2,650 jobs within the first year of their operation or expansion, and they brought in 8.9 billion Hong Kong dollars in direct investment. The completed projects came from a total of 47 economies, with mainland China being the largest single source of investment. We had a total of 75 completed projects from the mainland, followed by the US with 44 projects, Japan with 28 projects, the UK with 32, and finally France with 25 projects. For the first time, Invest Hong Kong has helped companies from new economies for us, economies such as Bangladesh, Cyprus, Kuwait, Poland, Romania, Tajikistan, to set up in Hong Kong. And in terms of the business sectors where we've seen a large number of projects, we've seen quite a few projects in the tourism and hospitality sector, the transport and industrial sector, as well as in innovation and technology and asset management. Hong Kong's institutional strengths and business-friendly environment continue to attract a diversified range of companies, ranging from global operations down to entrepreneur-led startups. In 2014, we continued to approach target companies in key geographic markets through our global network of 15 investment promotion units based in the economic and trade offices, the office in Beijing and Taiwan Economic, Trade and Cultural Office, as well as the 14 overseas consultants in strategic locations not covered by the IPUs. Our colleagues overseas conducted over 6,300 meetings, one-to-one meetings with companies, and provide on-the-spot advisory support and guidance to them. Aside from meeting with clients and organizing our own sector-focused events, we also work closely with other Hong Kong Inc. members, including the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, the Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks Corporation, the Cyberport, and many others to promote Hong Kong as an ideal business platform. Last year, we continued with our worldwide initiative, the Start Me Up Hong Kong initiative, which is aimed at really promoting Hong Kong as a leading hub for entrepreneurship and to encourage innovative and scalable startups to use Hong Kong as a launchpad to grow their businesses. We launched the Start Me Up Venture Program competition again in July 2014, and this competition recorded a 40% increase both in the number of entries as well as the source economies of the entries for this global business plan competition. We had a week-long program in November 2014 where we brought in overseas and Hong Kong-based startups and founders and other stakeholders in the startup community, including angel investors, co-workspace operators, and other incubators. We also staged a series of roadshows and networking of events in major startup hubs, including Israel, the US, UK, France, and India, between May and September 2014. As mentioned earlier, the mainland remained our largest source of completed projects in 2014. We organized a total of 26 seminars in 21 mainland cities, including Tianjin, Shijiazhuang, Hefei, Hangzhou, and Wuxi. These events aimed to encourage more mainland companies to make more use of Hong Kong as their platform to go global, and we conducted a total of over 1,750 investment promotion meetings one-on-one with those mainland enterprises. We also organized some joint overseas events to target overseas cities with partners from the Pearl River Delta to showcase the business opportunities in our region. And looking ahead for 2015, despite the global uncertainties, we aim to increase our target of completed projects from 350 in 2014 to 370 in 2015. To achieve this higher target, we will continue to strengthen our investment promotion efforts through the following strategies. Firstly, we'll focus our promotional efforts on the priority sectors and industries where Hong Kong has a clear competitive advantage, with an emphasis on financial services, creative industries, as well as information and communication technology sectors. We will continue to prioritize our resources to focus on growth regions and countries with potential, including the mainland, the ASEAN economies, France, Israel, and the UK, and with more emphasis on Latin America. We will strengthen our efforts to attract global startups to set up businesses in Hong Kong and to promote Hong Kong as a leading hub for startups and entrepreneurship. We will continue to promote Hong Kong as an ideal platform for mainland companies to go global, targeting the fast-growing mainland cities. And finally, we'll continue to provide aftercare support to mainland companies already established in Hong Kong to encourage them to locate their global, regional, and other more strategic functions in Hong Kong. My colleagues and I will be happy to answer any comments and suggestions that the panel members may have with respect to our investment promotion work. Thank you.
Thank you. 2 members, 3 members, or 4 altogether. 5 minutes each. Mr. Jeffrey Lam, followed by Charles Mok, Sin Chung Kai, and then Emily Lau. And one more, Martin Liao. Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just now, the Director General said that this year we faced quite a lot of challenges. The global economy has yet to fully recover. But we and you hope that you can help 370 companies to come to invest in Hong Kong, which is an increase of about 4.2% in comparison with this year. Now you do your promotion, but whether they move into Hong Kong or not depends on a lot of factors. I've heard some overseas investors expressing their concerns, say in recent years, or rather recently, the strong U.S. led to a strong U.S. dollar led to a strong Hong Kong dollar, and there was Occupy movement. Undermining the economy and also the transport, and there are also certain policies which have not been endorsed by this council, and together with high rent. There is no significant improvement to air quality, and the shortage of places in international schools. How are you going to address these problems? Now, Hong Kong still has an edge in Asia or Asia-Pacific region. But if you look at the Heritage Foundation's report recently, there are certain issues which raise our concerns. I just want to ask the Director General how to address those concerns, and how can your department or the Bureau can help them to come to Hong Kong.
Okay, I'm going to say a few words, and then I'm going to ask the DG to supplement me. Of course, when we do inward investment promotion, we have to emphasize Hong Kong's own superiorities and Hong Kong's unique positioning. In terms of being business-friendly, how can we enhance Hong Kong's performance in this regard? And this is something that we emphasize time and again when we meet with potential foreign investors. And these are our competitive advantages. And Hong Kong being a gateway for the global investors to move into domestic Chinese market. And so this is something that we emphasize. As for the concerns that it might have, such as international schools and air pollution and other issues, every time Invest Hong Kong lobbies foreign investors to come to Hong Kong, Invest Hong Kong has to address all of these issues every time. And so I'm going to now hand the floor over to DG of Invest Hong Kong. He's going to tell you firsthand as to how he addresses these concerns of foreign investors.
Well, it's true that we face certain challenges when we're communicating and selling Hong Kong, particularly to audiences that don't know our city so well, audiences in Europe and North America. The key one is cost. You know, everybody hears about the headlines where we have some of the world's highest office rentals. But to try and address this, what we try to explain is that despite the fact that we have some of the most expensive office buildings in the world, what is fairly unique to Hong Kong is that within a fairly small geographic area, we have a whole range of different office accommodation options at very different prices. And so the perception of that high cost is often more of a challenge than the reality. When we can actually get decision makers and entrepreneurs to visit Hong Kong, and we can show them the different office accommodation options, particularly in the new co-work spaces that are opening up in Sheung Wan in Western District, generally speaking, we can show them that Hong Kong need not be as expensive as they first thought, particularly if they're starting off with a very small command and control type office in Hong Kong. Of course, the fact that the Hong Kong dollar is linked to the US dollar is also something that is going to be a challenge for us, particularly when we're getting investment from the Eurozone. But our pipeline of projects, these are the companies that are considering setting up in Hong Kong over the next 18 months, is as strong today as it's ever been. So we're cautiously optimistic.
主席，我正話提出有幾個問題啦，我都希望唔係一句嘅啫。我希望局方咧將有關嘅。
I just want to say one word. I hope that Invest Hong Kong can, over the issues of international schools and air pollution, can really get the government departments to improve on all of these aspects, can try to lobby the government departments to do this. Next speaker. I'm particularly interested in attracting technology companies overseas to come to Hong Kong to set up business, because as far as I can hear, it seems that these technology companies would prefer places other than Hong Kong. Hong Kong seems to be at the bottom of the list. For instance, Amazon is very much involved in cloud business, but Amazon is really focusing on Singapore instead. And in the past 2 years, Uber and Airbnb and Yelp, these are the companies with the highest capitalization that are recently listed in US, and yet they have come to all places other than Hong Kong in Asia, and Hong Kong seems to be their last choice. And so, why is it like that? Maybe the problem is not so much as cost or rental, and these companies probably are already rather wealthy, and also they have a great potential, and so we really want them to come to Hong Kong. And could it be that they don't have sufficient understanding of Hong Kong? And another big factor is that they may get the impression that places like Singapore and Malaysia are more aggressive in getting their business. For instance, they actually proactively approach these companies to try to get them over. For instance, for cyber data center of Google, and recently Lee has deserted Hong Kong. Of course, everybody feels the pain. And over this particular incident, you can see that Taiwan was more aggressive than us. And we need to have the relevant policies to get them to find Hong Kong attractive. And sometimes you have to approach them proactively. So my question is, could it be that you've been focusing on putting together activities in various countries? And maybe in future, you should shift your focus to targeting certain emerging companies that are involved in technology development, whether overseas or domestic China, and approach them proactively and try to invite them to come to Hong Kong. And of course, Silicon Valley should be one of your target areas because many of these companies come from Silicon Valley. And Taiwan as well as Singapore have been very, very aggressive, and they have set up investment funds that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars to make investment in Silicon Valley on one hand, and on the other hand to attract companies from Silicon Valley to come to Singapore and Taiwan to set up shops. So in this regard, how can Hong Kong compete with these neighbors of ours? And also, how can Hong Kong attract accelerator funds and incubator funds from places like Silicon Valley in order to attract them to come to Hong Kong, so that these venture capital companies can find Hong Kong attractive and will be willing to come to Hong Kong? And what plans do you have in order to do this? DG, please.
That we face tremendous competition for the high technology companies that the honourable members mentioned. Not only from leading cities in Asia, but leading cities around the world are all chasing exactly the same group of high growth technology-related companies. But it's certainly true that Hong Kong is changing in terms of the way people perceive Hong Kong. Up until recently, it's true that people saw Hong Kong as a centre for large multinationals and for financial services. But with the rapid growth of our startup ecosystem in the last 2 or 3 years, Hong Kong is starting to be seen differently by a lot of technology companies. And if I can give you a bit of an example, we've seen this rapid growth in the number of co-work spaces in Hong Kong from 3 in 2010 to now almost 40. And some of the bigger companies are moving into this space. So, for example, Accenture have set up a co-work space in Hong Kong aimed at attracting financial services technology companies. KPMG have moved their data analytics center, they're second only in the world, to be here in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong does have some real advantages and real strengths in attracting companies in certain areas, things like Internet of Things, things like wearable devices, and in terms of financial services technology. So we're starting to see Hong Kong becoming more and more important when companies are looking at their locations in our region. And of course, proximity to big companies like Tencent and Huawei is also something that's attracting people to set up here in Hong Kong.
主席一句 comment 啫，係I really like to see more effort in attracting growth stage companies from Silicon Valley or UK, Cambridge, and Israel and places like those. Very targeted effort. Thank you.
呢個係阿莫議員嘅一個 suggestion。
So I think there is all the more justification for setting up the Innovation and Technology Bureau. Otherwise, how are you going to attract such high technology companies to come to Hong Kong? Mrs. Sin, your paper says that last year, a lot of mainland companies have come to Hong Kong. And Premier Xi Jinping is now trying to clamp down on corruption. So, what measures do you have to prevent corrupt officials in the mainland are trying to launder their corruption money through setting up business in Hong Kong? How can you prevent that? Because if you do not set up any firewalls or any barriers, then their assets that have been invested in Hong Kong could be confiscated by the central government, and so that's not good for Hong Kong. Of course, the first thing is to remind the mainland enterprises that are interested in Hong Kong as to Hong Kong's legal framework and also Hong Kong's degree of business friendliness, and that all companies setting up their business in Hong Kong will have to abide by Hong Kong's laws. I don't know whether the DG has got anything to add on this.
Well, the types of companies that we hope to bring from mainland are companies that are going to put substantial offices in Hong Kong, create jobs in Hong Kong. We're less interested in attracting companies that are simply using Hong Kong for a paper vehicle. And one of the reasons that we're getting so many business and professional service firms from around the world wanting to come and also be based in Hong Kong is that they want to support these mainland companies to make legitimate investments in their home economies.
喺呢個你點樣分流，即係一啲唔係做一啲所謂。
But how can you make the differentiation? How can you differentiate that these companies are not in Hong Kong to set up paper companies?
Potential investments.
Because for us to claim
因為咧，我哋首先咧係要幫助呢啲公司咧，如果佢哋嚟香港咧，係去開一個辦公室，然後咧係真係請咗人，我哋先至計佢作為我哋嘅數據㗎。咁我哋點樣俾嗰個資源換佢，當然亦都係好重要啦。Next one, please. Mr. Lam Griffin has just left the room, and he has raised potential investors' concerns, and he mentioned Occupy Central movement. And it seems that from all statistics shown, Occupy Central has had minimal impact on investors' appetite for coming to Hong Kong. And so do you have any statistics to refute that or support that? And also, lack of international school places and high rental and air pollution have consistently been problems that are deterring foreign investors from coming to Hong Kong. And so have you resolved these issues? Okay, I'm going to take the question concerning air pollution and international schools. Now, what about Occupy Central? Do you have any information showing its potential impact on investors' appetite? Actually, DG has mentioned this when he was delivering his annual work report. And so DG is going to supplement on the possible, if any, impact from Occupy Central movement in the mind of foreign investors. Now, as for international schools, places, indeed, Invest Hong Kong, when promoting Hong Kong, has encountered such queries from foreign investors, and the Education Bureau has been trying to lend a hand. If you look at the past few years, international school places have been rising steadily in numbers, and the Education Bureau has been trying very hard to allocate land or to convert vacated school premises and turn them into international schools. And one of the preconditions is that 70% of the converted international schools must be for non-local students and non-subsidized students. And so this will go some way to helping the situation. And the Invest Hong Kong, of course, will be communicating very effectively over this progress with foreign investors. As for air pollution, as we all know, the SAR government has been trying its best to improve air quality. And last year's budget and this year's policy address have carried initiatives as to ways to improve air quality. And as far as I can understand, when Invest Hong Kong talks to potential investors, whether it's concerns over international schools or air pollution, Invest Hong Kong has got the impression that foreign investors' concerns over these areas have been somewhat allayed a little bit. And so it shows that the problem is easing. That said, we still need to do more in order to further allay the concerns from foreign investors. Now, as for the political and economic impact from Occupy Central movement, I'd like to hand the floor over to the DG.
Basically, when we're working with foreign companies, we're often account managing the decision makers in those companies for a number of years. So many of the companies that have set up last year, we would have started talking to 3 or 4 years before. And because foreign direct investment has such a long time horizon, we haven't seen any change in the number of companies coming to set up in Hong Kong last year as a result of Occupy Central. What we did see, though, of course, is that some of the companies that are already here had their business adversely impacted by the Occupy Central movement. And, of course, we had a number of inquiries from companies that were planning to visit Hong Kong about how easy it would be to get around, how easy it would be to attend events, and we had to try to reassure companies on that score. But to be honest, it's too soon to tell. The impact of Occupy Central may have more of an impact over the next year than it did last year.
主席啊，我想問多一樣呢，就係
Chairman, I still want to ask one more point. I heard from the business sector. Now, they may worry about policy risk, but that is policy risk over the years because government policies sudden change and there has been no consultation. Has any foreign investors expressed such concerns? The DG.
Some of the larger companies that are involved in infrastructure projects have expressed some concerns, but the vast majority of our clients are new to Hong Kong, and so they're not so involved in coming to Hong Kong because of particular policy initiatives.
they're too new, so they don't know. Is that what?
佢如果好似對
Say, what about double stamp duty? Will they then deter them from buying property in Hong Kong for office or for other uses?
The majority of the companies that we bring into Hong Kong start by renting, so the stamp duty isn't an issue.
OK， 下位係廖長江議員。
Next, Mr. Martin Liao.
Has been promoting Hong Kong as an ideal FDI destination and has been encouraging overseas enterprises to come and start up here and or to expand their business here. Now, what backup support service do you offer to these foreign enterprises who decided to come here? The Honourable Jeffrey Lam has raised a number of factors, including the shortage of international schools and so on and so forth. Now, I don't think I've heard a satisfactory answer yet, at least not today. Now, the particular question I want to ask in relation to backup services is that what methods or what offer have we provided to these enterprises in relation to recruitment of specialists and professionals? You know, how do we cater for their manpower needs?
Well, let me address the school places issue first, because it's been raised by a number of members. Invest Hong Kong takes this issue very seriously, and within our department we have colleagues that focus just on this issue. On the one hand, we reach out to the international schools that are already here and offer help in any expansion plans they may have. We also treat international schools that are looking to bid for the current sites that are available as projects, and we help them to try to come into Hong Kong. But also we sit down with individual parents and advise them on their schooling options. This year we've actually had less inquiries and less problems in terms of the companies that we've been helping to set up with school places than we did the previous year. So we believe that the problem's still there, but it's not as acute as it was in 2013. And with the new schools that are coming online, we hope that the supply will continue to alleviate this problem a little bit. There are a lot of very good schools in Hong Kong, but sometimes parents aren't aware of the new schools and the new facilities that are available. And we also make a point of talking to decision makers and people moving to Hong Kong well in advance of them moving here, so that they can choose the school before perhaps they choose where they want to live.
And do you offer help in that direction?
We do. We write letters of support, we provide advice, and we take them to schools as well. In terms of the other things that we do, I mean, because it's really an account management role that Invest Hong Kong has. In the early stages, when we're engaging with people overseas and on the mainland, it's about providing them with information and advice on what part of their business is best suited to Hong Kong. And then once a company is ready to set up and expand here, it's practical help. Help with advising them on what is the right visa for their employees, help with finding the right service providers in Hong Kong, help with getting marketing and media coverage for their expansion. And then even after they've set up, we try to provide them with some specialist networking opportunities to grow their business here and expand. In terms of staffing, initially when they're coming in, of course, we provide them with advice on salary levels, but we also would signpost them to executive search firms if they're looking to engage professionals here.
Okay. Any more?
Yes, can I follow up?
Yes,
thank you very much for your answers. The other thing is, I would like to ask that what, in your opinion, would be the areas that we have come out short and which require improvement in order to make your department's work more effective? Could you tell us that?
Okay. Chi Jiang.
Okay. Well, we've talked about a number of the challenges. I think one thing that we would like to see, I mean, of course, we could do with more schools, but we believe we're moving in the right direction there. The other thing that is a little bit of a challenge for smaller companies is opening bank accounts. And again, we're working with the HKMA on this issue because that can also be a barrier to companies setting up and the time it takes to open bank accounts.
Okay.
Any follow-up? Ms. Cheng Lai Wan. Thank you, Chairman. I want to ask this. Now we have 29 IPUs and overseas consultants locations. Some are linked with the ETOs. Some are just an office of the consultant. Now what are their differences? Are the consultants just local people you appoint them to act for us? Let me answer the question first, and then I ask the DG to supplement. When there is a consultant, that means at that place we don't have an ETO over there. But in order to maintain our link, in order to expand our network, in some places with potential, even we don't have an ETO, we get a local consultant to help us. The Director General can explain the details. The Director.
Whenever we have government economic and trade offices in a market that has a lot of potential for attracting FDI, we have small teams of normally locally engaged staff in those offices that reach out to investors in that particular territory. Elsewhere, in places like France and Italy, the Nordics and Korea, we engage part-time consultants. We give them performance-related targets, and we review these consultants every 2 years and select them on an open recruitment basis. We find this to be the most cost-effective and the most flexible way to ensure we have representation in these markets.
I also want to know the following. In the past few years, many economies are not so good. Say, for example, the European economy is not so good. Now, in 2014, among the 355 projects completed, after deducting 75 projects from the mainland, the remaining 280 from places other than the mainland. Among the 289, what are their sources? The 289, what are their sources?
The second largest source would be the US, so 44 projects from the US, followed by the UK and Japan. But the one that's grown very fast is France. France is ranked number 5 for the first time, and we completed 25 projects from France last year. So although the Eurozone economies have been fairly flat, in some respects that's created a push factor. So smaller, high-growth companies from the Eurozone, particularly from France, from Italy, from Spain, have been expanding and moving into Asia in quite large numbers. And Hong Kong benefits from that push factor.
Last year, what about Jerusalem and Abu Dhabi? 2014. Have they come to Hong Kong from Jerusalem and Abu Dhabi?
We did have some projects from Israel. Let me just check on the numbers.
Let me supplement. From Israel 2014, 2 projects as for the consultant in Abu Dhabi. He looks after UAE, and there were 2 completed in 2014. Well, you have done a good job. In 2014, you had 255 projects completed. The economies in other parts of the world are not very good, and you can still have so many completed projects last year. Now, concerning the important issues,
就係叫做我做廠出身嘅，就係 market oriented。
Market oriented is very important. What are they looking for to invest? Why they have to come here? What are the attractions here? I believe you have heard a lot of views and comments. In the future, can you tell us more? Say, what are their interests and what are their suggestions? You need to inform us, LegCo members. If we know that, then we can do something. And we can say, ask the government to give more support to develop those areas. Now, among the 355 projects, do they focus, you say they focus on financial services, innovation, technology. In fact, can you, well, in fact, these are only broad categories. In the future, can more details be provided? More breakdowns? In fact, we don't know the situation overseas, but you can receive a lot of information. Ms. Cheng, your time is up, but she asked the Bureau to provide more information. Ms. Emily Lau. Yes, Chairman, concerning the international schools. Mr. Yong, I don't know whether you know how the situation, how serious the situation is. They say that the new international schools are required to provide at least 70% of the seats for non-local students. That is a problematic issue because many local people want to send their children to international schools. The Japanese Chamber of Commerce came to us and asked good local schools to provide some places for their children so that they don't need to compete with others in the international schools. Now, if there aren't enough places in the national schools, can the 70% be even revised upwards? Or will the EDB, will the Education Bureau reject that? Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to the member. As for the international schools, as the Chairman has rightly pointed out, this is the portfolio of the Education Bureau. But as said by the DG, last year, according to their experience, the situation has improved a bit. As for the percentage of non-local students in the national schools, we're happy to relay your opinion to the Education Bureau. Would you adjust that percentage?
I'm afraid this will have to be answered by the Education Bureau. Now, just look at Singapore. I think Singapore's policy is very different because we're talking about international schools. The reason why international schools are set up in the first place is really to entertain the need or to meet the demand of foreign investors' children. But in Hong Kong, local students have taken a lot of places in international schools because local parents are not happy with our local school system. I'm not trying to belittle local schools, by the way. But still, we are talking about attracting foreign investors to come to Hong Kong. And I've heard a lot of views from potential investors saying that they're worried about their children not having a school place to go to in Hong Kong. And that's why they haven't come to Hong Kong. Now, Education Bureau, of course, is in charge of international schools, but it seems that Education Bureau lacks an Invest Hong Kong angle in handling international schools. Now, if you look at the situation during the past few years, the number of places in international schools is rising steadily, and it goes to show that the government is responsive to foreign investors' needs. And the Invest Hong Kong and Education Bureau have been very proactive in helping foreign investors solving the problems with placing the children in international schools. But we have heard your views, and the government is going to work harder on this. Now, it seems that international schools are offering 6,000 places, but not all of those places are wanted. I myself have been at the relevant committee, and the government has been throwing these numbers at us, saying that there are 6,000 places, but not all of those places are popular. And some of the places actually are not wanted, whereas other places are oversubscribed. I think even for international schools, they've got differentiation in terms of performance and in terms of reputation, and in terms of location. And so not all of those international school places are wanted by foreign investors and also by local parents. And so I think Invest Hong Kong must have a say over the handling of international schools. I think you do not have the right take on the problem. I think the problem is still quite serious. I'd like to ask a question about paragraph 22. Of the 995 cases, Invest Hong Kong has followed up on over 300 cases, and 90% are still in operation. So what about the remaining 10%? So this is what I want to do to get information on. And also for paragraph 25, Invest Hong Kong is going to focus on priority markets, especially mainland and ASEAN. So my question is, what is going to be your allocation of resources, the split of resources between mainland and ASEAN in terms of a ratio? How much for mainland and how much for ASEAN?
Okay, firstly, the issue of tracking past projects. Our colleagues are constantly calling the companies that we've helped then after 1 year of operation and after 2 years of operation to see if we can offer further support, but also to check that the company's still doing well in Hong Kong. And it's true that out of those projects during those 3 years, 10% could not be traced. So occasionally companies are not successful, they go out of business, or they're sold or merge with other businesses. And so it's understandable that we will see a 10% drop during that period. What's encouraging, though, is that the companies that we did survey from this sample showed an overall increase in the number of jobs that they had created in that period. In terms of the mainland's a major focus for us because in each one of the ETOs on the mainland we have substantial teams much larger teams than you would have in places like New York or London. We have more full-time equivalent staff on the mainland than in any other market around the world. When it comes to ASEAN, we have been focusing more on ASEAN in recent years. We have our team in the Singapore ETO, and as and when we have an additional ETO in ASEAN, we hope that there will be an Invest Hong Kong unit within that team, within that office, and that will significantly strengthen our presence in ASEAN too.
嗱，東盟咧，大家都知道係一個成個好大嘅。
We know that ASEAN is a huge territory covering many, many countries. And I'd like to know what countries within ASEAN are targeted by you, especially.
Well, traditionally Singapore. Singapore's been a major source of projects for us, and the fact that we have the Economic and Trade Office there and a team there means that Singapore is a significant source of projects. Malaysia is a market where we have a part-time consultant. But looking forward, we want to put more emphasis on Indonesia. We also believe that Thailand and the Philippines offer potential to attract a growing number of investors, and so we'll be doing investment promotion duty visits to all three of those markets in addition to Malaysia and Singapore.
Okay. 好，我哋各位委員有冇其他咩問題？
Any further questions? None? We are done with this item. We move on. Thank you very much for your attendance. Now we are on item 4 of the agenda. Development of C&E industries in Hong Kong. Philip, you stay behind. Mrs. Young, welcome. Secretary General. The Secretary for Commerce and Industry at the last meeting of this panel has given you a briefing on policy address initiatives within its policy area, and mention was made of us building a new C&E center in Wan Chai. And so here, I would like to give you a briefing on Hong Kong's future demand for C&E spaces and what the government will be doing. So first of all, our study on C&E service demand. And we have accepted recommendation from the relevant task force and started a study on consultancy study on C&E service demand. And we have looked at C&E service performance in Hong Kong as well as in Asian Pacific region. And the findings show that Hong Kong is in a leading position and has a leading reputation, and Hong Kong's C&E industry is very mature and also is growing. And so the forecast is that this industry will continue to grow. And our consultant estimated that by 2018, Hong Kong will need to increase the C&E space by 130,000 square meters before meeting the projected demand. Because the lead time for building C&E space is going to be quite long, and having considered stakeholders' interests, it is now recommended that we need to work on two areas. First, in the near term, we need to put together initiatives to increase utilization of existing spaces. And in the mid and long term, the government will have to increase the supply of C&E spaces. And on the whole, such findings from the consultant are endorsed by the government by and large. And in the near term, we'll continue to encourage existing players to make the best use of existing spaces, especially off-peak season. During off-peak season, And also, we will encourage players to make use of the approach of one show, two locations to better utilize existing spaces. And every September, private exhibitors will put together jewelry shows at two locations, i.e. AWE as well as Hong Kong CNE. And so this is a very successful example of a one show, two locations approach. And also in October, the Trade Development Council puts together another jewelry show also under the principle of one show, two locations. And also, Art Bao Show, once again, is another example of good utilization of existing spaces. In the mid and long term, we are now considering building a new CNE facility by 2020 in the vicinity of the exhibition station, or actually on top of that station. And we have invited the TDC to start planning for this new exhibition center. And on top of that, we are going to keep a very close eye over potential developments on the Lantau Island to see whether there are any new suitable locations for the development of new CNE facilities. And of course, these new locations will have to be highly accessible and highly supported by infrastructure. Right, that's my briefing, and your questions I'll be happy to answer. Mr. Fong and Mr. Kwok and Mr. Lau and Madam Lau have all signed up to speak. Now I'm going to lift the time limit because there is only a few of us here. Now you still want a time limit? Okay, 5 minutes each. Mr. Kwok? Speaker is speaking off mic, I'm sorry. He's speaking off mic. The interpreter cannot hear him. Can you speak into the mic? Thank you, convener. Now, concerning the new CNE center, it is quite apart from the expansion of existing Hong Kong CNE Phase 3. We are talking about the building of a new CNE center on top of exhibition station. As for the feasibility of Phase 3 of expansion of Hong Kong CNE, this is a difficult issue. It has already attracted a lot of discussion in the past, and there have been divergent views as to whether it is suitable or appropriate for Hong Kong CNE to be expanded into its third phase, and whether different stakeholders will have different views about this, and also the choice of location and also possible traffic impact and so on and so forth. All of these are very difficult issues relating to Phase 3 of Hong Kong CNE. And so because of such divergence of views and also because of conflicting interests, we have not come to a conclusion as to whether Phase 3 of CNE will indeed be built. So, to put it simply, Secretary General, are you saying that the present convention center does not have any exhibition space? And if indeed, if Hong Kong CNE is to be expanded into its third phase, you will consider whether or not there is a need for exhibition space to be provided there. Because in 2013, the Bureau back then released a policy paper that says that
proposal on the Hong Kong CEC development phase number 3. The policy of the government is that it will consider the question of support only if it is satisfied that there will be unmet demand, taking into account inter alia the additional 100,000 square meter exhibition space to be provided by the IEC and the timing of its availability.
So that was what was said then by the policy paper. And are you able to confirm that this policy is still your policy? Indeed, this is one of the factors for consideration when we consider how to take forward Hong Kong's future CNE facilities development.
Next, Mr. Vincent Fang. The Liberal Party and the retail and wholesale sector actively support the expansion of the convention center or the exhibition center. Anyways, high-spending MICE visitors will be brought to Hong Kong, and that will enhance Hong Kong's image. But having had the introduction, I support certain things, and I'm disappointed by some other things. You've got a consultant. The consultant has put down short-term and long-term measures. In the short term, it's hoped that you can increase the usage rate. As for enhancing the usage rate, that is not something easy. The time slots of different exhibitions for different sectors are set hard and fast. Say when it can be, the conference can be held in Switzerland, when it can be held in Hong Kong. Same for the garment industry. When it's in Paris, when it's in New York, when it's in Hong Kong, it's fixed. You cannot say, this is our low season, therefore I allow you to move the conference here. No, you can't do that. If you want to enhance the usage rate, you cannot do it in the short term unless you get not very attractive or unknown, unless you get an unknown conferences or exhibitions. Now you have a plus 4% growth. By 2028, there is a shortage of 132,000 square meters of exhibition hall. In 2028, if we are just a convention center and not an exhibition center, where is the growth? You spend so much on the consultant. You listen to some of the recommendations and not the other. They say you need another 132,000 square meters. Will you build the third phase of CEC? It seems that the government has shelved that proposal. You put in so much money and you don't listen to the consultant. I just want to know how much you spend on the consultant, on this consultancy. By 2020, they will build Wan Chai, build the one in Wan Chai according to policy address. And you need another few years since from 2020. By then, people have overtaken us and we are no longer competitive. It will undermine our exhibition sector. It will also undermine our retail, wholesale, and tourism sector. The Permanent Secretary. How to enhance our exhibition facilities is an important task and a great challenge. We share the members' concern. We do our best within all the constraints. Generally speaking, we accept the recommendations of the consultants. With regard to short, medium, and long-term measures, they are following the recommendations of the consultant. As for changing exhibition time or one exhibition in two venues, these are options to make good use of existing venue resources. And we have to work with the organizers, the exhibition organizers, and there are successful examples. As for adjustment of the exhibition sessions, say for example the Art Basel wanted to come in March, but because of the time slot was not available, the time slot was adjusted. And they were able to adjust. As for trendy food or other products, they may not need to have their conference or exhibition in Hong Kong during the peak purchasing season. We just want to spread out the session so that the usage can be more even. As for the planning for a new convention center, we are working on that. Where possible, we'll make good use of every minute available. Chairman, if I may follow up. The consultant says that there is a need of 130,000 square meters of exhibition space. Have you accepted the proposal? Where can you get this 130,000 square meters? Concerning the 130,000 square meters, that is the estimated shortage of exhibition space by 2028. We look at it in two ways. There is a new convention center, and there is a possibility of Lantau. Lantau is a place where the government is going to develop in terms of transport, in terms of business facilities, in terms of hotel facilities. There are many new plans and new facilities. Lantau is a good place for exhibitions. The AWE has experienced an increase in business. That, of course, is the result of the good efforts of the colleagues of AWE. When Lantau has adequate related facilities, there will be will have a high confidence of providing more exhibition space in Lantau. In the urban area, we are also looking for sites available for convention and exhibition, so as to address the shortage of venue. Next, Mr. Sin Chung Kai. I may not be following the issue very closely, but I want to ask this question. Now, there were several options for expansion. Say, for example, the Wan Chai Stadium. The administration also said it would relocate the 3 government buildings in Wan Chai, removing the 3 buildings, and you can build something on top. Now, suddenly, you're going to build on top of the SCL station, Southern Central Line, Southern Central Link station, exhibition station. So what will you do exactly? Apart from the top side of the exhibition station, what other things will you do? As for the top side of exhibition station, there will be a new convention center. They are for conventions. It is for conventions. With the new convention center, some space may be available from the existing convention and exhibition center to do exhibitions. As for new exhibition facilities, we hope that we can make use of the potential in Lantau and also potential sites in the urban area. As for CEC3, there are different views in the community. As for the expansion of CEC3, where should it be, its impact on the harbor, on the waterfront, on the environment, there are different views. And the district council also have a view. The district councils also have views, and we have to deal with it very carefully. We do not have any specific conclusion. We will continue to watch the situation and look at the development in Lantau so that we can have a better grasp of the picture. What about the 3 government buildings? Are you going to relocate them to Kowloon City? Yes, the courthouse, the revenue tower, and also immigration tower. Are you going to move them to East Kowloon? Concerning the 3 government buildings in Wan Chai, the departments will move out gradually. My understanding is that the usage of the 3 buildings are for augmenting the supply of Grade A offices. We face a lot of constraints. Hong Kong is small, but there are different kinds of demand. After the departments have moved out, the 3 buildings will be used for offices, so as to augment the supply of office space on the Hong Kong Island. They do not provide exhibition or convention space. So the administration has already ruled out this possibility. We have no plan to make use of the 3 buildings for C&E uses. Now, the top side of exhibition hall is for a convention center. That's correct, because we are short of convention space. But what about exhibition space? In answering Mr. Vincent Fang, you say Lantau. We have always heard you helping AWE. They are calling for help. Well, the situation has improved a bit. Recently, they haven't called for help. It has become a concert hall rather than an exhibition center. As for AWE, in the past few years, the overall business has improved, whether it is in terms of exhibitions or conventions or other activities. The number of events has increased. After several years of hard work, it has established its status in the sector. It is doing better and better, and we hope that its condition can further improve with adequate supporting facilities. We may consider the expansion. Well, in fact, there is an expansion, but has been put on hold. Ms. Emily Lau, AWE has improved because they have not come to harass us. It's okay, because if they don't have any business, if it is a white elephant. Well, I went to the TTC fashion exhibition. I talked to them whether they could share some business with them so that there can be 1 event but 2 exhibitions. You have put in so much resources. The AWE, you should fill it up, not just for concerts, but also a banquet. But you have to pay $100 to $200 to travel to and from AWE just to go to a banquet. Now you have phase 1, phase 2, you say phase 3, you say there is no consensus. That is the problem. Now, before we start, the chairman said that we supported the government. Now, Ms. Janet Wong, I have to mention her name. When she comes, she was very popular. Members asked them, do you have enough money? Why are you doing so little? We support you. But you just say you can't do this, you can't do that. You really need to do something. I know that you are new to this post, but you're just sitting there. If you sit there and wait, even if you wait for 10 years, you can't get anything. You have to go out to talk to people. We know that something is very active, but it cannot last forever. Now someone blocks this part, the other block the other part, then you have to get it. You have to remove the barriers. Now you wait for 2028. By then I won't be there. Many will still be there. Many will still be there. Should we wait until 2028? Thank you, Chairman.
One of our biggest priority and biggest challenge is how to increase C&E spaces. And so I can assure you that we are going to do our utmost to not only better utilize existing spaces, but also to identify good locations for future C&E facilities. So this is going to be something that we're working on. And indeed, AWE is going from strength to strength. And AWE has been working closely with TDC to improve its performance. During the past few years, AWE has been working very closely with TDC indeed, and TDC has put together over 40 exhibitions at AWE and has contributed a lot to its improvement in performance. So we really look forward to their continual cooperation. And also, when an event is on at AWE, transportation arrangements will be put in place in order to facilitate commuters going to and from AWE. As for identifying suitable locations in urban areas as well as Lantau Island for future C&E facilities, we'll do our best to communicate with stakeholders, and we hope that we'll have something concrete to report to this panel very soon in due course. And members' expectations of what we are required to do and what we should be doing were very, very clear. Now, convener, you have to really put some pressure on them. It seems that even when we support them, they can't do anything, let alone when we don't support them. Now, you have to understand their difficulties. Now, identifying locations is one difficulty. Transportation is also another difficulty. Now, if Lantau is not a good location, then try another area. I understand that they already have the one show, two location approach, and also they'll put together special transportation arrangements when an event is on to really lend a hand to AWE. And Emily Lau actually has contributed a lot to facilitate communication and dialogue between AWE and the Hong Kong CEC. Okay, we thank members for their support. Madam Jiang, I just want to sort something out, convener. The CE's policy address says that there is going to be a new exhibition and convention center on top of exhibition station along the Sha Tin Central Link. And then on Lantau Island, there could be a possibility for AWE to be expanded. Where are you talking about? Which place are you talking about? AWE.
因為點解呢？因為呢，我而
In 2013, 39 applications for use of C&E space were turned down because of lack of slot availability. And AWE itself has turned away 17 applicants because of lack of slot availability. So you should also consider the possibility of expanding AWE in the long term. Indeed, the new CEC at Exhibition Station on Sha Tin Central Link and the identification of possible locations for future C&E facilities are some of the long and mid-term measures that we have in expanding Hong Kong's C&E industry. And in the near term, the one show, two location approach, as well as improvement of utilization of existing spaces, are the measures that will be put into place. We hope that when the near-term measures and the mid-long-term measures come together, we'll be able to make up for the projected shortfall of 130,000 square meters of C&E spaces by 2020. Now, if they want to expand these facilities, do they need to come to LegCo for funding? What about the financing arrangement if you want to expand CEC facilities? Now, for the new exhibition center and convention center at Exhibition Station, At this point in time, we have already invited TDC to work out detailed planning. As for the financing of this project, we'll wait till detailed planning is done before we proceed to examine possible financing options for this new exhibition station CEC. And of course, if necessary, we have to come to a finance committee of LegCo for funding. I understand that Hong Kong CEC's title belongs to the Property Management Department of the government, and so it belongs to the government, whereas the management is entrusted to New World Development. I'd like to know whether you have made a decision on the exhibition station CEC. Sha Tin Central Link, of course, is already under construction, and the exhibition station is also under works. And with support from the Highways Department, they are going to go an extra mile in constructing the exhibition station. In other words, they are going to lay down even more pillars so that there leaves the possibility of putting up a new CEC on top of the exhibition station. How big would the new CEC be? The exhibition station is within a comprehensive development area. It's got an area of 15,000 odd square meters, but how much of that can be used for C&E business? We have to await the outcome of detailed planning by TDC. That said, we want the 16,000 square meters could be devoted to C&E use as much as possible. I think we are done with questions. And let me sum up. We have some sort of a consensus on building a new CC on top of exhibition station, meaning that I have not heard objection from members to that. And instead, they have expressed concerns as to how Hong Kong C&E industry can be taken forward and its growth can be guaranteed, and how resources can be judiciously used to continue to support Hong Kong C&E industry so that we can stay ahead of our competition from neighboring regions. Because once they have overtaken us, it's very difficult for us to get our leading position back. Okay, Mr. Ma, you still got one more question? I'm sorry, I just came from the West Kowloon Management Board meeting. I just want to follow up on one issue. I support continual development of new CE facilities. I'd like to know whether the government has considered the modes of operation for these new facilities. Has the government given any consideration to that? Will it be, as before, entrusted to private operators? So you're talking about the exhibition station CEC, right? And it is adjoined to the existing Hong Kong CEC, and so what is going to be its mode of operation? TDC is now working on a detailed plans for the CEC. As for the financing options as well as future modes of operation for this new facility, we have not come to any sort of a view yet. We have to wait till detailed planning is done before we can decide on the financing option as well as the mode of operation. And of course, we'll come to the panel in due course in order to gauge your views. So you haven't come to a decision yet. Any further views? I just want to declare that I'm a member of TDC. So it hasn't deterred you from speaking. Has it? No. I think the government is already quite late in doing this, because we've been talking about this for so long, and yet very little has been done. But of course, little is better than nothing. And also, the new CEC at Exhibition Station is not going to be a large one anyway. The only advantage it's got is that it's going to be right next to Hong Kong CEC 1 and 2. And the initial thinking is that it will be linked to Hong Kong CEC 1 and 2 by footbridges. And also, it will help Hong Kong CEC 1 and 2 in getting linked to the Sha Tin and Central Link. But of course, the downside is that the Sha Tin and Central Link, and in particular the exhibition station, will not come online till 2020. And so the station itself will only be completed by 2020, and the earliest time for the completion of the new CEC on top of it will be 2023, and so that's 8 years from now. And even as we speak, our neighboring countries and regions are developing their new C&E facilities hard and fast. So it's a good thing that additional pillars are already laid down to accommodate the new CNC center on top of exhibition station. But of course, you have to bear in mind that when the new CEC is being built, the new Central and Sha Tin Link is already running, and you've got railways operating underneath, and so that will create difficulties. And also, in the meantime, before it comes on stream, how are you going to help the C&E industry to improve its competitive edge? Secretary General, I think we are all very jumpy that you should start working on this as soon as possible and as hard as possible. Indeed, we understand your aspirations and your wishes, and we are going to work on it very hard. The new CC is now under detailed planning, and when detailed planning is available, we'll see whether works on it can be further expedited through various means, and we'll look at its feasibility. And also, certain groundwork will be laid in the construction of exhibition station, meaning that additional pillars will be laid down in order to support future CEC. And so that is expediting the works of construction of the new CEC. And we'll continue to work hard on planning for hardware and software for the new CEC, and we are going to work very closely with stakeholders, the potential organizers, potential exhibitors, and so on and so forth, and also existing exhibitors and organizers to improve the utilization of existing C&E spaces. Okay, so we can say that the panel has come to a consensus that it is supportive of building a new CEC on top of exhibition station of Sha Tin and Central Link. And we hope that you can actually speed that up as much as possible. And also Hong Kong C&E industry, hopefully, will be benefiting from further government initiatives, whether it's AWE or the existing Hong Kong CEC. The synergy between the two should be further exploited by additional government initiatives. So even though the workload between them is already more evenly spaced, but I think synergy should be further developed. Right? AOB? No items under AOB, so I think we're done for today. Thank you.